morning, everyone. I'm Natalia Zukerman, and it is a pleasure and honor to be here at the Wake Up with the Consciousness Cafe. I am honored to have as our guest this morning Holly Near, who is a absolute legend and treasure. And I just wanted to start by reading something from your website, which you probably haven't seen in a while. But it's a quote from you. It says, I do not separate my music from my heart, nor do I separate my ideas from my daily life. I open myself up to learning as much as I can about humanity and this mysterious life experience. But I do not relate to political work as a series of causes. Moment by moment, I integrate what I learn into my personal life, personalizing my politics. It is from this personal place that I write my songs. So Holly Near has been singing for a more equitable world for over 50 creative years. She is an insightful storyteller through her music, committed to keeping the work rooted in contemporary activism. I love here how it says you are an ambassador for peace, who brings to the stage a unique integration of world consciousness, spiritual discovery, and theatricality.
Wow.
Yes.
I'll just call you up and you can read that to me once a week, just in case my spirits go
I
down.
would love to do that.
That's nice. You know, in these Zoom things, I never know where to look. I know there's a camera there, but you're there and it's
Yeah,
very,
it's okay.
I'm looking at you.
I'm
So I'm
staring at
looking at you.
you, so
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and
Just so
myself.
your viewers know I'm not intentionally not looking at them, but how can I not look at you? We're talking to each other.
You know, it's like that in performance where it's like she was really singing to me.
But
Yes,
you know,
I was.
that is a craft. I
Hmm.
really think it is. I've done workshops with people, performance workshops, and it really is something one can learn how to throw that energy to the back wall and not keep it here. And some people have it naturally, natural performers. Sorry about that. Um, and some people don't. I don't
You
know.
know, and the thing that with you is that you're such a because you've taken everything is filtered through you and your natural spirit, and so people are responding to that you are who you are on stage and you are performing for sure.
Yeah, you're projecting who you are. You know, you
Right.
figure out as an artist what are the parts of yourself you want to project. And for example, I don't go on and project my worst day. I'm not much fun on that day. I'm not going to go up there and project that. So you filter through and say, people have spent money, they've gotten childcare, they had to drive across the bridge and pay tolls or whatever it is to get there. What what do you want to give them? What do you and how do you can't possibly know what's going on in each of their minds, but at the same time, you want them to feel better about themselves when they leave the hall than when they came in.
Yeah,
Some
that's a good thing.
some positive transformation of information, and that's always been really important to me.
Yeah. But then also as a performer, finding that authenticity, your story of, for example, the writing of Singing for Our Lives, you talk about how that song has evolved over the years, and it came out of going on your way to the Harvey Milk um, when he was
Demonstration. Yeah.
assassinated, and everything that it's taken on since then. It's a story, as I've only gotten to see you perform a few choice times, but I've heard you tell it, and it's comes from this authentic place because you're still feeling it. I think
Mhm.
the question in there would be, if you stopped feeling it, would you be able to still tell that story?
Um, yeah, because it doesn't have to be Harvey.
Right.
It's he's a symbol now. He and Mayor Moscone of people who were assassinated because of their belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes people won't use the word assassinated. They can't bear it. They'll say when Harvey Milk was killed or something, but both he and the mayor were assassinated. And it was intentional. And it was over political ideology. And there was elements of madness as well, because you kind of have to be mad to do something like that. But um, it's not an isolated incident. And the more I learn about other people, other places in the world, other cultures, even if that other culture is New Orleans or Nashville or Tallahassee. It's, I think we forget that our country's so big that these places, Montana and Wisconsin, there there are Norwegians that live there, and then there's people from the Caribbean who live there, and they aren't the same, and they don't respond the same to things. Um, they come from a different set of cultural upbringings, and I'm so happy when people retain that, because I feel like one of the things that happens to groups, to somebody who joins a hate group, is that they have lost contact with their cultural selves,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel so abandoned and so lonely and so void that when they see Black people enjoying their culture, or Latinos enjoying their culture, or anybody, the gay people celebrating, they have nothing to celebrate because they can't remember the food that came with them from Austria or Ireland, or where they've so detached themselves they don't know. So this kind of thievery starts to happen, that progressives do. We start to buy Native American jewelry and think we're in solidarity with Indigenous people. But you kind of have to go a little farther than that. And then there's some people who just get emptier and emptier and emptier and whiter,
Mm-hmm.
void of color,
Mm-hmm.
um, void of culture, void of food, void of songs, and they're empty, lonely, and angry. And they're dangerous.
Yeah, it makes me think of that. Have you read Menachem's book, My Grandmother's Hands?
I know, I've heard of that book. I have
Oh,
not.
it's just crushingly beautiful. And he talks
Yeah.
about not people of color, but people of culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think this is what you're speaking to, of this detachment from where we come from. That I'm American. Well, what does that mean?
Because white is not a culture.
Right.
White is a power structure. And my step granddaughter, she's trying to learn about this. She's 4, and she said, "I think I'm peach." I'm like, she's
I
working
love
on
her.
something other than white.
Well, I wanted to ask you actually about that night that you wrote the song Singing for Our Lives, because in this gorgeous PBS documentary, Singing for Our Lives, which I watched again last night in preparation to talking to you, and I tell everybody who's watching or listening, please watch that documentary. If you don't know who this amazing creature is sitting here, you owe it to yourself. I'm sure there's other ones, maybe you can tell us, that dig a little deeper even, but there's a scene where I think I don't remember if it's Margie or Nancy Vogel talking about the night you drove down to the march, to the vigil. And she describes you sitting in the back seat moaning. And it moves me to tears to say that I think as artists, we hope for something to come through, and it certainly has so many times for you to translate it for us. But can you talk about that moment? Do you even remember that? Maybe you were having a stomach ache. She's remembering it wrong, but do you
Um, uh,
remember that?
I love how stories change in a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
small amount of time. It's great, and it's how mythology happens. And it would be really good to take note of that right now, because if somebody thinks a story that was written 3,000 years ago is still being told the same way, when we can't even get through 3 minutes, I think it's really important not to get too stuck on one's religion. Um, but anyway, it was Tori Osborne who
Okay.
was telling the story. And we were both living up in Ukiah at the time. She was working with me on Redwood Records, the company that I started. And we were driving down, and I was just working on writing the song, and I was humming, and she describes it as sort of a guttural sound, um, which that I don't remember. But I know that for a non-songwriter, listening to someone who's a songwriter try to write a song, it can sound pretty odd at the beginning because it's not a finished product.
I'm
So she
impressed you could
described
even
it.
do that in front of other people in a car. So emotional. Yeah.
Well, it was just, I didn't want to get up and sing some generic song I had. It just seemed, I knew I was going to sing. It hadn't been planned, but I knew I was going to sing when I got there. So I think the question was in me was, people were angry.
Mhm.
They were hurt and they were angry. And I didn't want to say to them, calm down or don't be hurt or don't be angry. But remember, whatever we do, let it be building a movement rather than just burning cars and breaking windows, because that doesn't usually last for very long. But building a movement can last. And that's kind of what they did. I mean, there really is a strong GLBTQ community movement. Uh, it didn't all start with Harvey Milk, and it didn't all start with Stonewall. It didn't all start anywhere. It just has been bubbling and brewing. But I think I was wanting to say, like in the song, it goes, we are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. So that gentle, angry, and I remember people saying, why are you putting those two words together?
Mhm.
Um, and there were actually some people who would always just sing the verse, we are a gentle, loving people. They didn't want to get close or venture into that emotion of rage. And I think it's really important to get close to that emotion. The men who I still am friends with are the ones that could hold my rage.
Mm.
The ones who could say, if these are the abuses against women, what kind of person would you be if you didn't feel angry?
Right.
Right? They didn't diminish the rage, nor did they personalize it. And we have a very dangerous way in movements of calling men and white people and people, we have these generalizations that Americans, um, not all men were the same during the women's movement,
Mhm.
but the ones who survived and the ones that, at least for me, that I maintain loving relationships with, are ones that could hold that. And I learned from that to say, okay, I am going to get that same kind of rage from people of color.
But that's what you do. You hold that for everyone. And so for your own rage, how do you metabolize that? I mean, in your writing, I imagine.
I
But
probably directed at my sisters.
they might agree. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. How do I hold it? I do a lot of internal work, because I think it's interesting. You know, I find if I wake up every morning and remember that we're oddly on this planet, it's spinning through space at an unimaginable rate of speed. I mean, good Lord, that ought to be enough to make a person
Yeah.
scared. But
Scared or feel more insignificant in the best possible way.
yeah, and get to know gravity. You know,
Get in touch with gravity. Uh-huh.
I know when people are arguing about God or something, I go, well, gravity on duty, that's my God. And everybody can find their own relationship to whatever that extraordinary mystery is. And some people need an answer for that.
Hmm.
They need for their own well being to absolutely know the answer. I don't seem to have any need for that. I have no interest in identifying a God in any way that leaves anybody else out.
Mm.
No, I want that
Yeah.
God to be so big that little people can crawl into it any way they want and crawl out of it anytime they want, because it isn't it. It's a mystery. Anybody who thinks they know, they don't. I'm not all that interesting or fun, um, or even wise off stage as much as I am on. And I'm not saying this for some kind of false, oh, yeah, you're great. I'm really not. I mean, when I am working, even now, I feel like there's a certain channel that goes on
Hmm.
that if I were not presenting, either in an interview or on stage or in a workshop or whatever, I wouldn't have access to it.
Hmm.
It's there, but I don't always know how to get to it when I'm fighting with my sister. Right? I become really a kind of a bore. And if I could learn to have access to that when I'm in the middle of personal family struggle or with a sweetheart or with whatever. But I've really learned how to access it when I'm doing public presentation. I
Mhm.
don't even have to think about it anymore.
Holly, thank you so much for talking
You're
to
welcome.
me
I'm so
today.
glad we're getting to know each other.
Me too.
Let's keep connected.
Definitely.
All right.
Enjoy your day.
And
Thank
to
you
your
so
audience,
much.
much love.
Yeah, much love, everyone.